Hello, first round fantasy fans. Welcome on in to the First Round Fantasy Podcast, your home for second round advice. I'm your host, Gabriel Miramontes, joined today by the crew minus Jacob, plug in the sub, Damon Ricks, Joseph Morsaz, and Justin Morsaz. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
We're doing good.
Man, good.
Raiders took a beating, but we'll survive.
They will survive.
That was to be expected. I mean, they're a good team, but holy heck, man. I didn't think we were going to do 3-0. And Cam Newton, I don't know.
My buddies texted me after week 2, and he's like, his dad's a big Raider fan. He's like, dude, my dad is running around the house singing "We Are the Champions" after y'all beat the Saints. I was like, give me a break.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey. That's true. I'm glad to have you guys here. We're missing our leader today, Jacob. He is currently out of commission. He'll be back next week. But like I said, we got the plug-in spot start sub, Justin Morsaz. He always comes in with the hot takes and the great advice. We're happy to have him. He's like the better Joe, so it's always a good time when he's here. With that being said, man, guys, hey, question off the bat. If you're going to freaking start a franchise today, who are you taking? Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes? Both guys that are lighting it up through 3 weeks.
Mahomes, just because his age, man. Wilson is better right now, but Mahomes is what? 8 years younger, 6 years younger. You have to go with the young guy.
Okay.
Wilson
how about this?
Is not better, by the way. Mahomes is a better quarterback.
Let me rephrase it. If you're looking for a win now,
I want to win this year.
Want to win this year? Who are you building your team around?
Russell Wilson.
No, that's silly because Mahomes just won the Super Bowl. That makes no sense. With the same team.
And Tyreek Hill and a dope defense. When he won Super Bowls. Or he won a Super Bowl. So, I don't know, man. And Russell Wilson's only getting better. I'm a Niner fan, bro. It hurts me to say this, but he's the best quarterback in the league.
No, he's not.
Oh, my God. Justin, what about you?
Oh,
it's a very close, but Mahomes, with a running back, it opens up more. You can see that he doesn't have to rely 24/7 on the guy. But if you watch tonight's game, Wilson's good, but this guy's just there too.
I don't know.
Who are you taking, Gabe?
I'm taking Russell Wilson to the hole, dude. Plus, he's dating Sierra. He's married to Sierra. Like, that guy's a fucking champ. Oh, I just cursed. Sorry, everybody. For all those people who come onto the podcast, they listen for the first 3 minutes by helping us out and then leave. That's your question for the day. Answer that question and put it in the chat. Who are you starting your franchise around if you want to win this year? Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes? All right.
Why not Josh Allen?
He's one
more year.
Yeah.
Although that's my boy, and I know that's Joe's boys too. But we'll talk about that later. We're getting into some injury news, like always. Here we go. All right, injury news. Nothing, you know what? Hey, not as bad as last week. We saw Chris Carson take an awkward fall, sprained his ankle, likely to not miss any time at all. But, I mean, I guess that's worth a mention of Carlos Hyde on the waiver wires in just a moment. Jordan Reed, if you plugged him into your lineup, hoping he would reproduce on that George Kittle-esque performance of a week ago, he did not because he left the game early, and he's likely to be irrelevant now that Kittle's coming back. Dallas Goedert, you probably plugged him in there. He didn't do anything for you. Russell Gage, we were high on him this week. Concussion, didn't do anything for you. John Brown, Mr. Reliable, didn't do anything for you. Tariq Cohen, how do I always say his name wrong? Tariq Cohen, ACL, probably out for the season. Sad to see. Chris Godwin, groin, will miss some time. Andy Reid came out and said that today, so we'll wait for a timetable on that. And not Justin. And Damon's dark horse of the week, Deontay Johnson, concussion as well. You hate to see it. But sometimes, you know what? Hey, that's what I always say about fantasy. 50% knowledge, 50% luck, man. And you had bad luck if you started any of those guys this week because they put up almost absolute goose eggs for you.
This week wasn't as bad as last, at least, man.
Dude, last week was.
I think there are
I
news
can't
that
even make a
just
joke
broke right now.
What news?
What? Oh, wait, hold
The
on.
news just broke.
We got a new
Carson
segment
saying
on the
that,
shows, everybody. Wait, hold on, Justin. This is our new segment on the show. I don't have a bite for it yet, but here it is. This just in, brought to you by Justin Morsaz. Give us the hot take.
Justin Carson's going to miss 1 to 2 weeks with the sprain, so definitely Hyde is going to be the pickup to look for because he is going to miss some time.
Okay, there we go.
Well, dang, that's good because this note I did these notes this morning, and then look at that, Justin Morsaz with the first ever this just in segment. You heard it here first, and that was breaking news. I need a breaking news soundbite.
Yeah,
be on the lookout for that. I know. I gotta get it. I'm sorry, guys. Am I missing any other injuries?
Did you mention Godwin?
Yeah, Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin pulled the groin.
Russell Gage, he missed some time on it.
Yeah, these are all guys we got to be on the lookout for next week.
I think Godwin's is a hammy, not a groin, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's whose is a hammy, not a concussion?
They play Thursday, so he's probably going to miss 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For who? Who is this?
Godwin.
This is Godwin.
Yeah, that's what I said. Chris Godwin. Hammy. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, my bad. All right. Well, hey, like I said, at least it wasn't as bad as last week. We're moving on to waiver wires.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance. I know there's a lot riding on it, but it's all psychological. Just got to stay in a positive frame of mind.
So the first one that comes to mind is bittersweet. And I feel bad for saying this because we did have him in our first ever first round fantasy podcasters fantasy football league. And we dropped him to pick up, I think, Benny Snell. And the man went off, and that was the rookie, Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. Justin's Minnesota Vikings. The guy absolutely blew up. I don't even have the stats because you know why? They're just so big. I couldn't even fit them on the paper. Priority number one, that's probably mine. I don't know how, with the wide receiver pool being so deep year in and year out, I don't know if I'm going to be spending a lot of money on them. I don't know if you guys feel differently, but I mean, I'd love to hear it. Joe, what about you? I'll give it to Justin. Justin, how are you feeling about Justin Jefferson? Big play or big one-timer?
For sure. I think I'm a Vikings fan. I watch all the games, and I was disappointed the first 2 games because we just couldn't throw the ball at all. And then here comes JJ catching everything. And I think it really showed us that he could be that second to Thielen and go and get those easy 9 to 10 yard catches, and he breaks tackles and gets through them. I think it's real. I wouldn't expect any wide receiver to play. He's a nice flex play if you have to have him, but an amazing stash as a backup right now. I do think like we have great rookie wide receivers, and I know CeeDee got love and Judy got love and all those guys, but he's right there with them. He got drafted right there with them to do this. So I'm saying definitely pick him up. I would spend a good amount if you need a waiver wire for a wide receiver, but I wouldn't spend all of it.
What if it was what if it was priority based and you had number one pick on the waiver wire? Who's your number one waiver wire pickup this week, Justin? You got one?
I would have to split it. If you need a wide receiver, go Justin Jefferson. If you need a halfback, I would go for Wilson Jr. or maybe hold it, because I don't see any amazing waivers this week for number one, and you may want to save it for a rainy day. But if you had to, I go those two.
You know what? That's a great take, Justin, because I have to say that you do not always need to use that first round waiver priority if you have it, because you have weeks like last week that showed us the chaos that can consume the waiver wire. And that just wasn't the case this week. There were a couple of big name players that just had great games, and there were a couple people like Justin Jefferson, but no one else on the waiver wire really blew up. Maybe T. Higgins if you're into that sort of thing, but I don't think Baker can sustain any of that. Joe, what about you? You got one, my man?
I've had him in a couple leagues actually, but Ayuk. He looked really damn good out there, man. It's the season of rookie wide receivers, and I I hate to say this as a Niner fan, but Mullins was out there looking better than Jimmy G. And he was – I mean, I hate to say it, dude, but he was making quick decisions. He was getting the ball out. He was hitting receivers, and he was working with the B team. No Debo, no Kittle, no Mostert, no Coleman, no Reed for half the game. And he was making Ross Dwelly, Ayuk, Bourne. They were all looking like good players. So I say, and I thought this from the beginning, Ayuk is going to have a role this year. And in that Shanahan offense where he likes to use receivers in lots of different ways, get him the ball, let him get in some room, I do think that if I'm going season long, I actually like him more than Justin Jefferson. But I do like Justin Jefferson as well. But I like Ayuk better.
I am going to interject there because I saw Justin shaking his head. And before I let him explain, I'll probably explain why I disagree as well. Justin Jefferson is probably a clear-cut number 2 option on his Minnesota Vikings team. Meanwhile, you have Deebo Samuel coming back soon. You have Kittle coming back soon. And you have that massive running back presence in San Francisco that loves to run the ball. Yeah. I just don't think there's going to be volume there. And if Jimmy G comes back,
Wait, we talk about the massive volume for running backs in San Francisco. Cook, he had 30 points this week. He's going to run the ball. And Madison is a factor also as well. So, yes, but how many games do you go through where Kirk Cousins gets 12 passes, 13 passes, sometimes 20? You know, at least Jimmy G, he's throwing the ball 30 times because our offense is always involved. So, I'm going to Ayuk over Jefferson, but I like both of them.
Justin, what do you got to say about it?
I'm going to disagree completely, not just because I'm a Viking fan, but you have to understand the way the Vikings work. Yes, we're a run-heavy team, but unlike the Niners, we're not throwing to Rudolph or Smith Jr. like 15 times a game, so our wide receivers are going to soak that up. So instead of Kittle seeing 12 targets taken away from Ayuk, we're still going to go to Jefferson every single game. And as a Viking fan, I know this about Cousins. There's some weird thing that goes on with him. We'll game plan, he'll throw 12, 15, 18, and then we just start lighting it up and throwing it downfield. So it looks like he made the switch. I hope it continues, but I would still say Jefferson long-term over Ayuk. You can't. They're both nice picks given their situation, but I prefer Jefferson by a good amount.
All I'm going to say is Cousins threw 25 times, 26 times, and 27 times in his 3 games. And he's not completing a ton of passes, 19, 11, 16. The Niners, it's been 2 quarterbacks by committee basically, but 33 passes for Garoppolo week 1. Then we go to the backup week 2 and we throw the ball 27 total times. And then Mullins throws it 36 times in a game that we blew them out. 30-something to 9. So I'm just saying, man, the volume is there for the Niners too. And Thielen, there's no Thielen in San Francisco. Debo's good. He's not Thielen. Thielen is a target hog. And there's games that Kittle's involved in the pass game, but a lot of times he's a 5, 6, 7 target guy. He's not soaking up 15 targets like Thielen can.
Joe mentioned Kirk Cousins' throwing numbers over the last 3 weeks. He did come out and say in a post-game interview that he expects to, quote unquote, let it fly more as the season continues, which should do good things for that Vikings offense because they looked wretched in the first 2 weeks. And it's good to see some life because it's not only good for the passing game, quote unquote, Thielen and now Justin Jefferson, but it's better for Dalvin Cook as well. And better for Justin because it makes his day better. Awesome. Guys, do I see this going into book it down territory? Are you willing to go there? Better season results, Brandon Ayuk or Justin Jefferson?
I mean, listen. Justin Jefferson has a huge, clear lead right now because of that huge game that he just had. But I would say from week 4 on, Ayuk has a better season than Jefferson. I'll book that down.
All right, better I'll take that bet.
All right. Let's see. Better
4 through 16 or 17.
Come on, you want in on this? Better rest of the season, Justin Jefferson or from week 4 on, Justin Jefferson or Brandon Ayuk?
I'm gonna go with Joe Ayuk.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about, boy.
Wow. I'm gonna go JJ, bro.
Yeah,
I think he's one of only a few weapons in Minnesota, whereas Brendan Ayuk might get lost in the shuffle.
Their team is just built around, like Joe said, running the ball. So
let's see. All right, let's talk about the other one while I get this bucket down going on. We just heard it. This just in. Chris Carson looking to miss a week or two. How much fab are you spending on his short-term rental like Carlos Hyde?
Nothing personally.
I mean, if you don't have Chris Carson, I'm not wasting any fab or a waiver priority on him. But if you are the Chris Carson owner, you got to think there's someone out there looking to poach him off your hands. So, Joe, if you're trying to defend the Chris Carson owner, how much of your fab percentage-wise are you spending on Chris Carson?
You mean on Hyde? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Hyde.
But the scary thing is, man, is that Pete Carroll is always a workhorse guy. So if Hyde comes in and he balls out, and Carson has not done great, and this injury turns from 1 to 2 to 4 weeks to 5 weeks, whatever, Hyde may keep that job for the rest of the season. I'm not counting on it. I'm just saying it could happen. Carlos Hyde is a damn good player.
I just thought of another soundbite I need.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with
soundbite.
We've seen it with Rawls.
Oh yeah, that's true. Until he ended up sucking and breaking his ankle like every single game. I got a tight end to mention. Oh, go ahead, Damon.
Oh, well, you might be talking about what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
No. I want to hear
I'll say real quick that Carson is definitely going to keep the job no matter what. He's playing really, really good. But if you're in a league and you know your players in the league and the Carson owner needs Hyde, I would spend to maybe leverage a trade around that. These are the type of moves in fantasy that win you weeks and win you leagues. So if you know that that Carson owner is desperate, poach him, leverage a trade, and see if you can do it. Worst case scenario, you have a running back that's going to get run, and you may want to plug in yourself.
Damn it, Justin. That's why you're on the freaking show, my man. No more Jacob, dude. You're here to stay. If you're listening to this, Jacob, we only need you for editing now, Jacob. Sorry. All right. Damon, you were going to bring up a tight end question mark?
Yeah. Let's see if it's the same one, though.
You want to say it on 3?
All right. Go ahead.
All right. Let's say it on 3. Okay. You ready?
All right.
1, 2, 3. Mo Alley Cox.
Oh.
I'm with you, who you got, Damon? Who's got
Damon? Jimmy.
Jimmy Graham, the older Jimmy G, the better looking one.
Well, Nick Foles loves his tight end. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Graham is an offensive tight end. He doesn't block. I don't think he knows how. So he's going to be in there strictly to catch touchdowns and passes. And he got 10 targets. I think most of those were with Nick Foles. So I'm not saying spend your number one priority on somebody like Jimmy Graham, but if you're in a fab league, I'd bid $1 and then you'll get him. If say you're hurting on tight end,
you definitely get him. But you know what? That's not a bad pick. He's had 2 good weeks in a row, and I honestly would beg to differ. I haven't done the research, but he's been a top 10 tight end the first 3 weeks of the season or last 2 weeks of the season. So. Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I picked Mo Alley Cox, and I think I heard Joseph also utter his name. The guy is an absolute freak. What's that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
The guy is an absolute freak of nature, 6'5", 267, former basketball player. A lot of people, last week, 6 targets, 5 catches, 111 yards. People thought, well, hey, Jack Doyle's coming back off an injury. Things are looking up for him. He only had 3 targets. Fortunately for us, one of them was a touchdown. I don't think this guy is going away. Phillip Rivers loves his tight ends. We've seen it before. Hunter Henry, Antonio Gates, the great. Mo Alley Cox, man, keep an eye on him. If you're a guy like me who's been streaming Jared Cook the last 2 weeks and knows you got to get rid of him once Michael Thomas comes back, dude, I'm going all out on Mo Alley Cox.
Can we get a book it down then? Because you guys seem so unsure of Jimmy Graham, but so sure of Cox, who has 3 targets in an entire football game. When Jimmy Graham had 3 times the targets at 10, I will say Jimmy Graham from now on.
Hey, I'm not
confident. What the hell, dude? I'll take it.
Yet, but
I'll take it, dude.
Jimmy Graham, man, he lets us.
You know how many 3 target? Like you can't. Our guy can be 3 targets, guys. That's like It's
Hey,
like
he
one-
had 6 the week before, and that's because Jack Doyle came back. I
Yeah,
believe in him, dude. I'm a
it was
Mo
6
Alley Cox
plus 3,
believer.
9. Jimmy Graham
It was-
got 10 last week.
It was one of those weeks for tight ends, man. I was just talking to Justin about it, and it was like the week before we had Waller blow up, we had Higbee blow up, we had Ingram had a decent game, Hurst had a good game.
But
Kelsey
these
had
are all supposed to, though. They're all
I
supposed to.
know, but this last week, none of the tight ends did good. I don't know why. Gesicki, like 1 catch, a touchdown. Hurst, 1 catch, a touchdown. Mo Alley Cox,
I
3
think-
catches,
But
a
that's normal
touchdown.
tight end.
I think
Tight
Graham
end-
ended up as tight end 1 and Kelsey 2 and Ertz 3.
Yeah, it's possible.
Well,
You know his
where
name.
Damon
You
and
know
I
his
lie.
nickname, right? Jimmy
his nickname?
Grandpa. Just old man, dude.
I honestly was waiting for something so much better than that, and the
I know,
delivery
right?
was awful. You know what his name is? Jimmy Grandpa.
He's been around forever. He's the grandpa of the league.
Hey, well, if you guys want in on this, I think it's a surefire one. I'm taking Mo Alley Cox rest of the season.
That's
Damon's
retard.
taking Graham. Who are you guys going? Come on.
I
I
can't
gotta
book
go
it down,
Graham.
but I'm going Graham.
Yeah, I
you
gotta
would
go
get
Graham.
3 targets. if you
All
played
the
in
more merrier. I'll do it. Joe and Justin. Sweet. I love it. I love it. All right. Any other let's see, waiver wire pickups we want to get into? Or are we moving on? Justin, who's your guy that you were going to throw out there?
They're saying Burkhead, but he's been on the IR, and Damian Harris should be a hold for a lot of players that need a halfback, because obviously anyone can blow up over there, but a lot of good news is coming out for him. But in training camp that I was reading, Damian Harris for the Patriots, he could be a nice hold and mid-season pickup.
Man, I'm not touching none of these
Yeah.
Patriots running backs,
Don't
bro.
do that, guys.
I
In
don't like
Dynasty,
them.
I do currently have Damian Harris on my IR spot, and I'm hoping for good things. So that's a
Man,
nice
keep him
one
on
to
your
mention.
IR spot, but it's if you're in a redraft league, I'm not wasting a first round pick on Rex Burhead. He does this every year. He has 1 or 2 blow up games, and then James White comes back and he becomes the guy. And they all take turns, man. It's the kind of backfield you start one and the other one goes off for 15 or 20, and the guy that you start is trash. So I don't trust any of them.
I agree.
Yeah, I likely don't agree either. Well, is that all the waiver wires we got now?
Let's
Are we
go,
good?
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on. First round fantasies, dark horses of the week. All right, well, this is the true definition for you win some and you lose some. The first round fantasy team was feeling mighty fine after our first ever dark horses of the week 2 weeks ago. This week, it was a different story. Let's recap. Joe went ahead with T.Y. Hilton, said the man was going to finally break that connection with Phillip Rivers. It didn't happen. So that puts you at 1 for 2 on the year. Damon, you went with the trusty steed, David Montgomery, who, although I think is going to have a good rest of the year without Tariq Cohen, did not prove to be start worthy against a formidable opponent. You are now at 1 at 2. Jacob, not here today. He went with Joshua Kelly. Man, dude, Joe was talking about it before the show. It was also his first priority dark horse before he went with TY. So technically not looking good there, even with the pristine matchup. You know what? Hey, I went with James Robinson. I got my pick this week. I was the only one who didn't get one last week. So we are all even right now with our dark horses at 1 for 2. So I like it. But guess what? Justin gets to come in today. Justin, your picks go for Jacob. So you got to make him look good, or you can completely trash him with your pick. We'll leave it up to you. With that being said, I'll lead us off, man. And I got a good one. And I don't know if you guys are going to like it. It was actually Joe's first Fool's Gold player 2 weeks ago. And I'm here to say that the man is finally coming out of his shell, and that's Joe Mixon, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, guys, listen. And this is actually a two-parter, and I'll get more into it a little bit later. But for right now, something good has got to happen for the Cincinnati Bengals team. There's a lot of hype around Joe Burrow and how he was going to lead this team to the promised land. How often does that even happen with a rookie quarterback? Not often. It was just very high expectations, and they're very unlikely to happen now that we've seen what that offensive line is incapable of doing. Joe Mixon, what did he have? 69 yards on like 17 carries. I think he had 49 yards on 16 carries. Just wasn't doing it. He's not catching any receiving looks out of the backfield. They're still being poached by Bernard. I'm here to tell you this week that changes. They got to do something different around there. They have to get the man who they just paid a 4-year extension to. They got to get the ball in his hands. Jacksonville defense currently ranks as the 10th easiest defense to run against. Myles Gaskin, the 7th round draft pick? He had minimal success against them on Thursday Night Football. I think Joe Mixon can equally double that. I look at him getting 20, 22 fantasy points. He's going to have a great game. Somewhere around 18 carries, 100 yards, and a TD. He has yet to find the end zone this season. I am booking it down. Joe Mixon, my dark horse player of the week. But I did say stay tuned, and I'll leave you with that. Who else is coming on up? Joe, what about you, man? Who's your dark horse player of the week?
Man, I woke up. First of all, I was up Saturday night till about 4 a.m. My girl's sister was over. We were all hanging out, drinking, having a good time. I wake up at 9:55 after having McKinnon in my flex the entire week, and I bench him for Joshua Kelly, and I lose 1 out of 5. I won my other 4 leagues. That league, I lost by 2 points because Aaron Rodgers threw that last touchdown because Aaron Jones couldn't get in. If I had just started Jerick McKinnon, which I'm going to do this week, so he is my dark horse, Jerick McKinnon, I'm not sure it's necessarily a dark horse, but if Mostert misses another week against that Philadelphia Eagle team, Niners probably have Kittle coming back. He's going to be there on the pass blocking. And I think they are, with or without Mostert, McKinnon is going to give you 15-plus points.
That's a good one. Now, how comfortable are you making that pick if Mostert does come back, but only Tevin Coleman stays sidelined? Are you still comfortable with that dark horse pick?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, listen, Mostert's coming back, but I told my uncle after week 1, I said, bro, our next 4 games are Jets, Giants, Eagles, and Dolphins. That's 4 easy games. They are going to run the ball. Even if Mostert comes back, he's going to get 10 carries. He's not going to go back to his 20 touch role. He's going to get 10 touches. McKinnon's still going to be involved.
For sure.
Yeah, Wilson's still going to be involved. And I told Justin last week going into the week, I said, bro, Wilson and McKinnon, both solid starts. And I can see them both putting up fantasy relevant numbers. And I was right. I just should have trusted my gut and kept McKinnon in instead of goddamn Josh Kelly, who I thought was going to get 2 touchdowns against the Panthers.
Yeah, and that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, man. It doesn't always go the way you planned, but solid pick. And again, let's book that down. It is Jerick McKinnon, Joe's dark horse of the week. Justin, the substitute, my man, you're playing for Jacob's win this week. Who you calling for Jacob?
I know Jacob's going to be proud of me, and I know some of you are going to like this pick too, but I hate to say it because it's obvious, but I got to go Deshaun Watson. He plays the Vikings, and I don't like the offense so much, but I have to admit the Vikings defense is banged up and bad to begin with. So, Rodgers lit us up. Tannehill, he didn't throw for touchdowns, but he threw for a lot of yards, and Deshaun's good. They need to bounce back too, and I think he's going to light us up.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's a good pick. And you know why? Because I have Watson in a league of mine, and the first 2 weeks I lost by a total of, I think, 5 points one week and 9 points the next. And that's because Deshaun Watson was just mediocre for fantasy, man. You're looking at a guy who just got paid. He's the 2nd highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And it just goes to show when you lose that number 1 receiver, you got some adjusting to do, man. And he just hasn't proven it yet. The line doesn't look good, but his opening schedule was brutal. He ended it tonight with the Baltimore Ravens. It starts to ease up just a little bit. And that starts with, sorry to say it, Justin, Minnesota Vikings, terrible defense that's a little banged up right now. So that's a solid pick. I enjoy it. I would even consider it. Well, I guess we'll talk about it later. But yeah, stay tuned for more on Deshaun Watson as well. Damon, you are up, my man. What is your last dark horse pick of the week? Round us out here for the segment.
My dark horse of the week is somebody you're likely to sit this week, and that's going to be DJ Moore. I feel like DJ Moore had a subpar week. He only had 4 targets, 2 catches, but they played against like a top 5 defense in the Chargers. And I feel like the Chargers made a point to stop him and let Robbie Anderson run free. And the game script didn't really need them to be aggressive and throw the ball. But against Arizona, I think they're going to have to put up points. So I'm running with DJ Moore as my dark horse.
Didn't somebody just trade for him?
What's that?
Over a touchdown for DJ Moore against Arizona.
You just say 100 and a touchdown for DJ Moore?
Yep.
The funny thing is, DeMont just traded DJ Moore in my league to Justin for Melvin Gordon literally 2 hours ago.
Let me preface that the only reason I did that is because I benched Gallup, who I'm just going to plug into his spot.
True.
And that's why I offered that deal, because I had a feeling that you liked your bench receivers, and I don't like Melvin Gordon anymore, but I do like him as a player, but not in fantasy. So I'm happy that was your choice, Damon. That's nice. I feel good.
Yeah, that's a good choice, man. Hey, as a DJ Moore owner myself, I shopped him a shit ton this week in multiple leagues. I know you guys all know about it. And I finally got rid of him in 2. Not to say I needed to get rid of him, but same boat, Damon. I mean, I sat him in week 2 because he had a bad week 1, and then look at him. He had a great week 2. The expectations coming into this season were that DJ Moore was going to be a top 10 wide receiver. And that wasn't just a consensus from us because, we're not pros. We give second round advice. But I mean, even the pros, man, they were all ranking DJ Moore inside their top 10. I'm starting to find out that that's very unlikely. Yes, Teddy Bridgewater loves to spread the ball around, and that's good for everyone else but DJ Moore, who needs those short peppered targets. And he's not getting them right now. Not to say it's going to change. We're early in the season, but that's a good dark horse pick. I like it, Damon. I think we're going to be good this week, guys. We got some solid picks. We're going to put first round fantasy back on the map. Let's get into some Fool's Gold.
You are out of here. Whatever. I don't really care. I'm just going to sit this one out.
Sweet. Fool's Gold players of the week. Let's recap like we always do. Guys, I'm not only proud of myself, but I think I was to the T on my projection for Stephon Diggs. I called for 6 targets, 4 receptions, and like 50 yards. The dude got 49 yards, 4 receptions on 6 targets. I'm almost positive. Someone has to go back and listen to the episode. Really I'm having a super fanboy moment right now. Like, I just thought of myself as Matthew Berry. That's how hyped I am.
So, well, Gabe,
you want to know Diggs' stats?
Wait, hold on. Hey, what were his stats, Justin?
He was 6 targets, 4 receptions, 49 and 1. But Joey's about to tell you something that changes the whole game.
Let's hear it.
2 touchdowns. So
I was watching the game. He got a bubble screen. He reached over, touchdown, holding. It came back. The next play, he got another end zone target, touchdown. It got double penalty, called back, and then they threw it to a tight end. So he could have easily finished with 20, 21 points. So he had a nice week, but it wasn't a blow up. But it was not a bad game.
He still did he still had 15 points. I mean, I'm still starting Diggs at 15 points. But I hear you, Gabe. After 2 30-point games, it was temper your expectations for sure.
Yeah, hey, I was hoping you guys weren't going to mention it. I saw it happen too. One of them shouldn't have been called for sure. Yeah. The other one was, rightly so. But yes, who the freak cares? Because I was spot on with my projection. That's the coolest thing that's ever happened in my life in terms of fantasy football. So I'm dope with it. Joe, yours was the New York backfield. Of course, you clutched it out 2 for 2. They were horrendous. Shout out to Aaron. If you listen to the podcast, you spent $500 on Devontae Freeman. Have fun, buddy. Have fun with that.
Did he?
He did, dude. He did.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it either. He didn't even have it. He didn't even have Barkley. Like, what are you doing, bud?
Just, maybe piss off Gio. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Reaching for the fences type swing.
Damon, you were successful. You went with Odell Beckham Jr. That guy's a pile of doo-doo. Now, again, I hate to talk bad about NFL players because I'm one of those guys that believes that, like, hey, these guys have worked their whole entire lives. They play in the NFL. I could never do what they do. So when I say that a player plays like doo-doo, I feel kind of bad inside because it's like, I can't do what they do.
No.
But at the same time, he's a professional.
Still, no.
And this fool is like the fashionista of the NFL, and I think he needs to stick with fashion. Odell's a fashion finista on his – dang it, I need to come up with a cooler catch line than that. What's a cool thing to say about Odell?
By the way,
What did he do?
he came out and said, I'm taking this quote a little bit out, but he said something like, I need to realize that it's no longer about personal stats. It's about team wins. I actually was really happy to hear him say that because, listen, he's fallen off for fantasy. But my biggest thing with this guy has always been that he's not a team player. He was like Stephon Diggs last year in Minnesota, and he got shipped off to Buffalo. And good thing for Stephon Diggs because now he's killing it. But Odell is not going to have those big games in Cleveland, and he needs to accept his role. That is what it is. They got weapons over there, and they need to start winning. They're 2-1, guys. They were 1-3 last year. They're 2-1 now. This is the best start they had in 20 years. I mean, who gives a damn?
They have weapons, and that's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They're trying so hard to not let Baker Mayfield throw the ball, and when he does, he just happens to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But nonetheless, hot take by Joseph. That's cool for Odell. He can be a fashionista. He's fading in the NFL in terms of fantasy, and he makes Damon 2 for 2 on the young season. Jacob went with, I don't know, Jacob's was kind of questionable. He chose the Houston wide receivers. Then he said, wait, I only picked Brandon Cooks. I don't really remember that, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He went with Cooks. Cooks had a horrible game. He's 1 for 2 on the young season. So we're pretty good there. With that being said, shocking sits of the week, Fool's Gold players. Justin, you want to lead us off, man? Who are you benching this week, or at least tempering your expectations for?
I know you're not gonna like me, but it's definitely Mixon. I wanted to interrupt you while you were telling the pros about him, but I'll tell you everything about how that's not the case. That defense is awful. They do not have the time to sit back and run it off. He's not a power runner. One hit, that guy falls to the ground, sadly. And Burrow's going to throw 40 plus, 50 plus, and this guy's just not going to be. If you saw that game and you saw a pass in the backfield and a nice run, and you're like, oh, Mixon got that. And then you see that it's Bernard who's getting that 15-yard hit. I'm not a Mixon fan. I'm not a Bengals fan. I just know they're going to be throwing a lot. So it's not so much if you believe he's a good running back, that's fine. But I can't put him at a running back 1. It just will never happen for me. And he will have a good game, but this week, as with every other week until I'm proven wrong, he's my temper your expectation guy.
You know what? Hey, it hurts. It hurts. But I can't agree with you because he's my start of the week. So, bro, we got to go to book it down territory. Week, let's figure it out. This week, Mixon, I'm going under.
Did you say 100 yards and a touchdown?
You said 22.
What? I didn't say anything yet. Where's this coming from? Under. I'm going under 80 yards and a touchdown. I don't think he's even hit 80 yards this season.
Under.
Joe Mixon under 80.
And a touchdown.
And a touchdown
80,
or no?
Yeah, he has yet to find the end zone this season, by the way, too.
I'll go. He's going to hit 80 yards. He's not going to get the touchdown, so I'll do under.
He's going to get either or.
I'd say opposite. He's going to get a touchdown. They're going to feed that man something, or else he's going to start getting mad.
But you have to take the whole package, 80 and the TD. So under. If you're under on either, then you're under altogether. So Justin's under, Joe's under, Damon is under. Guess what? As always, I'm over.
The low.
All right, sweet. Well, damn it, Justin. Way to ruin my night. Joe, what's your Fool's Gold player of the week?
I got a couple of them, man, but It has to be my guy Miles Sanders, and I hate to say it because I got him in 3 leagues.
Traded for him.
But listen, I love him. Season long, DeMont, he's a baller. And I'm not sure necessarily that he's a sit because you're not sitting a guy like that. This is a temper your expectations. This is a guy who that he's going to go against the Niners and even banged up on defense as we have been. Fred Warner is keeping this team intact, boys. And we are going to steamroll the Eagles. They're not going to get going. Carson Wentz is getting benched soon for Jalen Hurts, even if the coach doesn't want to say it. Okay, and, Miles Sanders is going to be good. He's going to get you 12, 13 points, but he's not going to get you 15, 20. So that's kind of my sit of the week, as in you're not going to sit him, but temper your expectations. He's not getting you 20.
Okay.
That's fair enough. I don't want to disagree with you anymore. But Damon, you got a Fool's Gold. Oh, wait, Justin? Come on.
I was going to say you better temper your expectations for 3 weeks because he's got San Fran, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore.
Yeah.
Justin's the game.
Huh?
What's that?
Justin already said Joe Mixon.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I know.
of course. I'm just tagging along.
Oh, okay.
All right. Damon, you want to go or you want me to get mine?
Yeah, I got one. I got for the temper your expectations. I have Mike Evans.
Wow.
Specifically because he's going against the Chargers. You might want to slide him in because he got those 2 touchdowns, but those are goal line touchdowns. Those were supposed to be Fournette's. But, they just threw a 1-yard pass to Mike Evans twice. And then for my complete sits, I just watched the game tonight, and Hollywood can no longer be in my starting lineup because
Ooh, yeah.
you just can't allow it. He's been getting a solid amount of targets, 6 a game, which is solid.
For a flex play, yeah.
Yeah, for a flex play, but not even that anymore. Like he was a flex play, but not. He just wasn't throwing the ball down the field. They run their offense like a college team.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm piggybacking off of what Damon said because of what Joe has been saying as I've been ferociously trying to trade him Lamar Jackson over the last few weeks. And that is Lamar Jackson, although a third-year quarterback, is having a sort of sophomore slump in that Baltimore Ravens offense. It's one of those things where they caught the world by storm last year. Well, guess what? This year, everybody knows what's coming. They've prepared for it. Look at what the Chiefs did tonight. They prepared for it, and they held him in check, 20 points. I think he only had 60 or 70 yards rushing on the ground. It just wasn't a good performance overall from Lamar Jackson.
Mark Andrews did drop a touchdown.
He sure did, but it still wouldn't even make it a great night.
First downs, too.
He had 97 passing yards.
That's so trash.
He lucked out. He had 83 rushing yards, which is going to get you 8 points in the league. But take away his touchdown. I mean, he had 1 touchdown. He had 83 rushing yards. His passing game is just not reliable where you pick up a guy like Josh Allen and he's getting you the carries, the goal line rushes, and he's throwing it up. Kyler Murray, same thing. Russell Wilson, same thing. Dak Prescott, same thing. But Lamar Jackson was kind of my going into this year. I just was a little hesitant on him just because, 1, like you said, teams are game planning for what he's doing, and 2, they have a damn good team, and they're going to run the ball all year. They're not going to be trucking it down to Hollywood. I didn't love Hollywood coming in this year anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that I figured that teams were going to scheme for him and plan for him, just like KC did, which means he'd have to throw because he runs the ball. Obviously, he ran for 1,200 yards. So if they plan for that, then of course Hollywood should get balls. But
the thing about Lamar, when he got ranked as the number 1 overall player as a quarterback, my problem with that was he hasn't really proven jack shit with his arm yet. Like, he's decent, and when he's rushing for 1,200 yards, it opens things up. But he's not a Mahomes. He's not a Russell Wilson. He's not a guy that's going to necessarily beat you with his arm by throwing 400 yards.
That's true. So if you guys get that fab on Justin Jefferson, would you bench Brown and play Jefferson?
If I had to, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. I would plug in Justin Jefferson. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually a good comp. I like that. All right, guys, mine to round us out. And, I don't really know how I feel about this player or this backfield entirely. He's coming off he's coming off 2 solid weeks. That's Darrell Henderson, running back from the Los Angeles Rams. I just don't think he can sustain that kind of workload. 20 carries, over 100 yards last week. He had 81 yards the week before, had touchdowns in both of those weeks. I just don't think it's sustainable, especially if Cam Akers finds his way back into the lineup next week. It's still a committee. Even Sean McVay has come out and said that we're still not demoting it. We're still not giving the ball to just one guy. It's going to be spread around. Malcolm Brown's still there. Cam Akers is coming back. Don't expect Darrell Henderson Jr. to get 20 carries this week. More like, 12 or 13. And I don't think that's going to make him fantasy relevant on the week at all. So
he's playing the Giants though, Gabe.
Hey, you know what? Despite what you may think, man, the Giants are good on defensive rushing. They're like top 10 in the league in rush defense. So they're not as bad as people are making it out. They get beat through the air a lot. Like you said, Nick Mullins came out, blistered him through the air. Yeah, McKinnon got his and shredded Frank Jr. Wasn't McKinnon's on a pass though? No, McKinnon's was a rush.
Pass.
Yeah, Wilson's was on a pass.
Wilson only had 12 carries, 15 yards. He did all of his work through the air.
Yeah, exactly. So Nick Mullins beat him through the air. I'm pretty sure everyone else beat him through the air. Yeah. Stay away from Darrell Henderson Jr. this week. He's fool's gold for sure. All right, fools. I don't know why I just called you fools. All right, fools. You all a bunch of scrubs. We're moving on. Sorry ass takes. But we are moving on though. We're gonna talk some trade targets. And again, I'm going to start us off because I told you we would come back to this guy, and this is not a buy. This is 100% a sell, and I am so sorry to say it. But Joe Mixon is going to come out this week, and he's going to have a good week. I'm sure of that. After that, you ship that guy to far seas away because that didn't make any sense at all. Damn, I need to get better. I need to get better chops, bro, with my quick comebacks because those are awful. You need to ship Mixon as fast as possible after his great week next week. You're right. Everything Justin said about Joe Mixon and about the Cincinnati Bengals is absolutely true. They're not good. Joe Burrow's not the savior for that team just yet. They need to improve a lot of things. 1, the defense. 2, the offensive line. And a slew of other things in between that. With that being said, again, Joe Mixon, he's going to be great next week. I'll stand by it. After that, get rid of him. His schedule coming up is brutal. He plays Baltimore. Did Clyde have a good game tonight? I don't think so.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, well, guess what? Joe Mixon's not. He plays Indiana. He plays Indianapolis the next week. Cleveland, Tennessee, who's going to be beatable. He plays Pittsburgh twice, not including once in the playoffs. That's just a tough schedule. He's got Washington in there as well. Guys, Washington is the first-ranked rushing defense in the league right now. Again, it's really early. But that schedule looks brutal. And I just know that, hey, if he has a good week, I'm trying to maximize my value out of Joe Mixon.
I feel the opposite.
Go ahead. Let's hear it. I get it.
I feel the opposite only because of his rushing attempts is top 5 in NFL right now. It goes Derrick Henry, Jacobs, Zeke, Drake, and Mixon. He's getting the attempts. So I feel like he's somebody that you hold on. Did you say you're trying to sell him or buy him? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to sell him.
Oh, well, I'm trying to buy him.
Matter of fact,
because of his volume.
You know what I would do? I don't know how likely you guys would be able to do this, but I would sell him. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Damon, by the way. He is currently number 5 in carries in the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. And I can totally see him sustaining that. That's how he had such a monster last half of the season last year, is they finally realized, dude, we can't give this guy 12 carries a game. Boom. Last 8 games of the season, 20-plus carries, 18 carries, just going bananas with the workload, and it proved to be successful. When you feed a guy that much, he eventually will succeed. No. Not for Joe Mixon. I don't. He's not going to have the second half he did last year. I hope he does. I don't see it panning out that way. With that being said, would you do a Joe Mixon for Kenyon Drake straight up? You receiving Joe Mixon?
No, because Drake's right above him. He's number 4.
Joe?
I'd rather have Drake.
Thank you. Justin?
Drake.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
but would you rather have
Wait, I'm the one trading Joe Mixon. Never mind.
Drake is the guy right above him in attempts. So the guy right below him is Chubb.
I'll take Chubb over his ass.
Would you
Oh,
rather have Joe Mixon or Chubb?
thinking about that. Give me Chubb.
Yeah, I guess I should have probably looked at that differently. Hey, Damon, you're hosting next week, bro. I'm taking it off because I didn't phrase that right. But yeah, I'd take Chubb all day, and that's just another reason why I'm probably getting
So
rid of
nobody
Joe
like Mixon, the guy above him or below him. Like, I
No,
guess
I
you're
don't-
right. Sell Mixon then.
Yeah.
Sell is that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Damon, I'm selling them to you if you're ready, bro.
I will. Yeah.
All right, we'll talk pick six
Amen.
later, my friend. You guys, what about you, Justin, Joe? You guys got any trade targets this week? Who you selling? Who you buying?
All right, I'll keep this quick. We're running a little bit long here, but I'm selling Gurley. He had a decent week. That was his best week so far. I'm selling his ass because that team is garbage, and they only throw. And I don't care who's healthy, Gage, Julio. It doesn't matter. They're throwing the ball. So I'm selling Gurley. And
Not only that, he got poached on a 37-yard run by Brian Hill too.
I'm not sure that's a poach when it was a 37-yarder. Yeah. I'm with you. Brian Hill has a
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm buying Adam Thielen, and the reason I say that is because you guys are so high on Jefferson. Everybody's hyping him up, and Thielen's coming off a really bad week 2 weeks ago and a mediocre week this week. He's going to have better weeks. He is the number one over there. Justin Jefferson had a great week. Thielen was locked up. I get it. But I'm buying Thielen just because I think with that Justin Jefferson hype and him coming off 2 low weeks, you might be able to buy him a little cheap.
Fair enough. Justin, what about you?
People I'm selling, I made the trade with Damon. I had to get rid of Gordon. Melvin Gordon is a featured back, but his value is not that good. And I heard a line, I don't know where I heard it, but it stuck with me, and I want to carry this over in future drafts. But it's like, you can't pick offensive players on the worst offensive teams. Like, as good as Gordon is, if you play for the Broncos, you're gonna have a bad day. So I'm selling him. I'm selling the Ravens backfield.
You didn't mention that when we were trading, by the way. You're
Oh,
false.
I can't play all my cards. This is why I offered you David Montgomery, and you said either or. So I had to think about it. But I'm selling the Ravens backfield. They're just garbage. As long as they're split back in, it's not worth a damn. And honestly, you guys mentioned a little bit, but Lamar Jackson, I wanted to sell him before this game just based off name value, because you see Dak, you see Allen, you see Wilson. Jackson is being game planned against, but his name is so big, you can get some major value out of that. And I don't think you can sell OBJ for a lot, but I would try to get out of him as soon as you can for any recognizable good name.
You get a saltine cracker for Odell.
Yo, Justin hardly is ever on the show. He's our spot start sub. That's why he had to get all of his sells and all of his buys for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't give you my buy.
Okay, what's your buy? What's your buy, Justin?
You just named 10 dudes.
Hey, I'll cut my list short. No, I'll give you 4 names. DJ Moore was already mentioned. DJ Moore is going to see targets. You won't have blow-up games all the time, but he blows up. Definitely, I'd go for Drake and David Johnson. Those are 2 running backs that I do trust. For Johnson, his schedule is easier. For Drake, the volume is going to positively turn into some good games. And the last but not least, Tyler Boyd. If you saw the Bengals games at all, it's not AJ Green's wide receivers anymore. It's all about Boyd. This guy's a machine. Even Higgins is getting the run, but Boyd is a PPR beast right now.
Yeah, he's likely to.
Boyd for Le'Veon still? That's the whole thing?
No, that's I offered you that. You couldn't.
You're done. You're done.
Tell him why you didn't take that trade. Tell him the situation.
125 yards, that's off the table.
All right. No, Justin, I can't trade with you no more. You're turning into like Joe.
I don't even talk.
No, you guys are done.
You don't have
Guys,
more trades than anybody.
All right, settle down. Damon, you got one?
yeah. So I treat the buys and sells have to go, weekly, because it's like the stock market. You're not gonna buy a stock when it's high. You're gonna buy it when it's low. So the lowest of the low, I would like Deontay Johnson. He got that concussion. I'd buy him, and I would buy Julio just because Julio's a headache, and a lot of teams can't afford to not have a Julio. So if you're like a third place, fourth place team, you're 2-1, 1-2, I'd buy a Julio. Like, for example, I traded Julio for Gurley in a recent trade, something like that, where you trade a guy that has instant value for a guy like Julio who might not play at all, but who can win you an entire league. The same with Deontay. And a guy I'm buying.
If you don't have a buy, that's fine.
Those were your buys.
Those were your buys, yeah.
Those were so my sellings. I didn't even think about
sellings. It's all good, Damon. We're moving on for time, anyways. Hey, but I do like those. I like Julio Jones, and I do like Justin mentioned it earlier, which tells me Justin doesn't listen to the damn podcast when he's not on it, because David, oh my gosh, Johnson, David Johnson was my buy of the week last week. So yeah, I like your picks, Justin. We got a lot in common, just not the whole related thing like you and your brother. Anyways, let's move on. So guys, I don't have a keep trade cut segment this week, but I do have something a little bit different, and we're just going to touch on it a bit. It's early in the season, which last week's keep trade cut was revolved around. This week, I just want to know, I'm going to shout out some names. These are all guys that are currently in the top 10 at their position. I want to get your best guess and rank them. Not even rank them. Who is likely to see their way out of the top 10 come season's end, and who is most likely to stay in the top 10 come season's end. And I'll give you two each from each position, or from two positions. So at running back, through the first 3 weeks of the season, you have James Robinson, running back from the Jacksonville Jaguars, currently the 5th running back off the board for fantasy terms and value. And you also have Chris Carson, currently ranked at number 10. Now, I did write this before. Chris Carson's going to miss a week or two, so I feel like that's a little jaded. Let's put him up against someone else. And you know what? Despite what you guys might think, I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways. Aaron Jones. He's currently the number 2 overall running back in fantasy football. Who stays, who goes in the top 10 for fantasy production? Keep in mind, it was going to be a lot better with Chris Carson there, but he's hurt now, so he doesn't really count.
Yeah, I'd say they both stay. And I'm still taking Aaron Jones over James Robinson.
Of course.
But even healthy Chris Carter, give me James Robinson, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So if we're talking 2 weeks down the road, I'm still taking James Robinson, because that man is real. And Fournette left a big hole in Jacksonville, and he filled it and more. And that boy is undrafted, and Fournette was a top 10 pick. So, my God, not only did Jacksonville get a better player, but they saved a lot of money doing it. And that was a great, great decision. Fournette had some attitude issues. I love that kid. But both of those dudes are clear. At least Aaron Jones is clear top 10. I think James Robinson is going to be 8 to 12 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I love James Robinson. I came out and said it a couple of weeks ago. He's a better Fournette, not to mention he's undrafted. The guy's doing big things. Rest of the season, though, yeah. I don't know if both of them find their way. I think eventually James Robinson, he's going to have a good rookie season, but I think he probably finds himself somewhere between 15 and 20. Aaron Jones is probably there to stay. Although in our early preseason rankings show, I know I wasn't on it, but I had my rankings published. I still have Aaron Jones outside the top 10 come end of year, and I still am a firm believer on that. I got him between 12 and 15. Moving on, Justin, Damon, who's likely to stay? They can both stay. They can both go, or 1-1.
I think they both stay. It depends. If Carson's healthy from now on, I think they both stay.
That's fair enough. Justin, what about you?
Robinson and Jones are definitely staying. Carson's going to get bumped out because we still got guys like Henry and Connor and even Jonathan Taylor, I think, are better runners. But Carson just has a lot of competition. That's all. But those 8 to 12 to 13, those are really tight players. So it's not a bad thing they fall out, but other players need to make their way in.
I'm glad that you prefaced that, Justin, because it's not a bad thing. Of course, you have running backs 1 through 20. That's still an RB1 and an RB2 on your fantasy team. So don't be worried if they're finishing. We're just saying, hey, they're not going to be top 10 guys. Let's look at the wide receiver position. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. I have 3 names for you. DeMont Ricks' favorite player, Robbie Anderson, currently as the wide receiver 7. Then you have Alan Lazard, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, currently at number 9. And lastly, you have DK Metcalf, currently number 5, wide receiver on the Young Fantasy season. Who is the most likely to stay in the top 10, and who is seeing their way out the door? And I'll give it even better. Who finishes furthest down the line? Well, obviously, I think that's key. I think that's Alan Lazard. I don't think with Devontae Adams there, he's not seeing that production.
It's Robbie.
I'm keeping what's his what's his name is by far the best.
Who's the best?
DK it's not even close. I tried on last week, and I did it because I wanted to reflip Lamb to Jacob, and it was a bad decision. I should have never done it. But either way, DK Metcalf is the real deal, man. That boy is good, and Russell Wilson is good too. DK Metcalf.
Dude, he got so, if you're watching the YouTube, dude, Joe got so juiced. I think he had a little moment. He got really
if anything, we should be saying is Metcalf top 7 rest of the season. He's no way falling out.
Yeah, but he just stayed. Robbie Anderson's fallen out, and Alan Lazard's fallen out. But Lazard actually has he's got rest of the season value, bro. Aaron Rodgers wanted him on the team last year, and they go out and they don't get any wide receivers, and everybody's panicking. And what happens? Lazard balls the hell out all year so far. So listen, he's a big dude. He's fast. He can catch the ball. I know he's not a big household name yet, but I think he will turn himself into one at the end of the year. He's top 20. I don't like him top 10.
Yeah,
he's the Lazard king.
Yeah, I think.
Oh gosh,
Robbie Anderson should call the Rock and try and get into the XFL.
I'll tell you. I'll give you my 2 cents. Like, you guys are hating on Robbie Anderson, but I remember playing this past 3 years. Everyone's trying to ride high on Robbie, but he plays for the garbage Jets. He's a good wide receiver. He's not staying top 10. He is worth rostering and worth a flex. But if I had to go, if no injuries, I take Robbie over Lazard. But Devontae's suspect, so I keep Lazard ahead of him. But they're both fine bench players that you can flex in week out.
Dang it, Justin, man.
You got to think like this.
Every time we have Justin on the show, I think I shouldn't even be doing this show. I think Justin just needs to take my spot. He comes in with the different angles, and I freaking love it. Good calls, good takes. Again, that wasn't keep, trade, cut, but I tried to do something new. Obviously, it burned in flames. Anyways, we'll get back to the regular segment next week. Joe, you got something to mention, or are we moving on?
That's it, man.
All right. Let's move on. We're talking about our first ever first round fantasies podcasters fantasy league. Going into tonight, we had a comfortable lead, and guess what? We were playing Sin City fantasy football. They had the Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill stack, and we still won by 0.28, fellas. Not even half a point. We won by 0.28. That's how close it went. A W is a W. That's exactly what it counts for. And Cincinnati, shout out to Sin City Fantasy Football. We'll likely be seeing them again. His team is freaking raw. But I'll take the time to say shout out to our next opponent, the Fantasy Bulletin. You guys do big things over there, creating hella funny memes. I love looking at them. They got some good stuff over there. So the Fantasy Bulletin over there on Instagram, I think they're our biggest account in the league. They got well over 20,000 followers. So they're doing some good things. They're doing something right. Hopefully for fantasy, they're doing something wrong next week when they take on us because we're looking to keep our winning streak alive, boys.
Hell yeah.
With that being said, let's move on to our viewer question of the week. This week's question comes from, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Ryland Blissman over on Instagram. Ryland Blissman. Thank you, man. And honestly, guys, sorry, Ryland, I don't mean to put you on the spot like this, dude, but I don't really understand your question. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyways. Hold on, I gotta even like blow up my screen just so I can read it. It doesn't make sense. Okay, sorry, Ryland. So his question is: when struggling, when is it time to stop starting your studs?
Ooh.
So I think I get it. And
let's see, when the hell do I start benching Odell Beckham Jr.?
And you know what, Joe? That's perfect because literally when I read that, I was like, I don't really know what you're talking about. But the only player that I can come to think of to make that comp was Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah. I mean, people have been living off of this guy's hype for 3 straight years now, when for fantasy purposes, he hasn't been relevant at all for at least the last 2 seasons.
Ryland, I'm here to tell you, not a week later than now, baby. You need to bench that bum if that's who you're talking about. And I'm not sure what other studs are really failing. Maybe you're talking DJ Moore. Maybe you're talking Mixon. I can't think.
Good comps.
Yeah, I can't think of too many more that are like top guys.
Maybe a Julio?
Drew Brees.
He was gone this week. He didn't have a great week 2.
Drew Brees, if he's not a stud, I mean, we had him outside top 10. If that was your guy, I feel bad for you. But if we're talking Odell and you took a 4th rounder on him, but you have somebody like Robbie Anderson on your bench, it's time to put Robbie in, man. Stop holding out hope. I'm not sure, like Gabe said, that Mixon is going to have great weeks moving forward. I do like him a little bit this week, but I think maybe I'm missing some guys, but if you're talking Odell Beckham, bench him.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he would have given us like his stud, but he did not. Again, Ryland, I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw you out. Justin, what do you got?
It's very variable because there's a lot of different motions. So say he's talking about Odell, but you don't want to bench him because then you show your cards. Because if you're looking to make a move, then you gotta start Odell so that your league thinks that he has value. Then you can flip him off that one good week. But if you don't plan on that, and you need the W's, then you bench him. Mixon, if you have another halfback that you can bench from Mixon and start instead, I don't know what league you play in. You kind of have to play these guys. It shouldn't be a bench. It should be you got to play and sell the instant that they have value. That's the only way.
Yeah, that's a fair. That's a really good way to look at it. Like as a Mixon owner myself, I mean, I didn't draft anyone else. Like I have no one else on my bench who I could put in place of Mixon unless I got a like Myles Gaskin. But that just looks bad on my part if I'm benching Mixon for Gaskin. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Points, so
yeah, but I get where Justin's coming from.
Yeah.
I feel it. But I mean, good question, Ryland. I think we got it under wraps, dude. Thanks for getting it in. Again, as always, if you have a question for the show, please feel free to DM us on Instagram. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can always email firstroundfantasy@gmail.com. With that being said, boys, I mean, look at that. Damon said, guys, we're doing so shitty. I'm leaving early today. He's freaking gone. But that definitely is the case, boys. We are done for tonight. We got some food to eat. Happy Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Later.
Yep.